on the agenda, and I'd like to welcome everybody, first of all, as well, to our meeting tonight.
Microphone.
The microphone, please.
I turned it on, it doesn't seem to be working.
Just maybe not close enough to it. You got to be really close.
Okay. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody, everybody here tonight, all the staff and council and deputy mayor and all the people watching on Facebook Live. I'd like to welcome our RCMP Corporal Dudley. Thanks for coming. Item 2 on the agenda is a declaration of conflict of interest. Anyone who will have a conflict of interest, anybody on council who would have a conflict of interest with regard to any item we're going to discuss here tonight, please declare so now. If not, we'll go to item number 3, which is approval of the agenda. So I'll ask if there are any other items anyone would like to add, any order change or anything like that. Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved, Your Worship.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes of your last meeting are in your package. I just had one item which I mentioned to the Finance Chair, Councillor Gail McDonald earlier, and that is the utility report, financial statement in the minutes last month. There was a reference to 12%, and I think it was, I'm not sure whether it was up or down, so maybe we could ask for that to be clarified for our next meeting.
Sure. So Mary, just under utility there, that should read down 12%. Thank you.
So our revenue was down 12%.
Expenses.
Expenses were down 12%. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other revisions or additions or deletions to the minutes? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of the minutes. Thank you. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Any business arising from the minutes? I think there was one follow-up item. Just take me a second here. I should have noted it down at the time. Yeah, have we gone back, and maybe this is covered in the safety services report about the consultation with the school board about the crossing guards? Is that, you know, if that's, maybe we can follow that up as part of the safety services report. Any other follow-up items from the minutes that anyone's noticed? Okay, if not, I'll ask for, okay, we'll move on now to item number 6 then, if there's no other follow-up business from the minutes. Any presentations from the floor? If there are no presentations from the floor, we'll go to my report, which is in your package. And as part of this report, I'd also like to recognize Stratford resident Sarah Steele, who is now going to be playing from next month, is going to start playing with the Toronto Six, the Women's Professional Hockey League. So that's quite an accomplishment for this young athlete. As well, Zach McEwen will be starting with the Vancouver Canucks as well. So he's a Stratford resident as well. So congratulations to those two residents. Any questions on my report?
Mayor, I just have one. They interviewed by MRSP or SB about Stratford's suggestions and input for the CADC strategic plan. Can you elaborate on what some of our input might have been?
Yeah, I was, and this is going to be this is part of their strategic planning process to consult with stakeholders and shareholders and So Wendy and I spoke with the person doing the strategic plan, and basically we talked about some of the things that we've talked about as a council here. For example, we would like to see a facility, for example, a library as part of the waterfront. To look at that possibility to see if that's something that could fit within their property holdings there, as well as it's my view that I think the CADC should be more, as you mentioned, more of a regional promotional. It should promote the whole region and in terms of all the shareholders. And looked at some specific. I mentioned about the parking issue down on the waterfront, which is going to be an issue in the future, and asked them to consider that as part of their strategic planning process for our waterfront. And I know they were interviewed as well. CADC was interviewed as part of our waterfront consultation process, so they provided input with regard to their plans there as well. I think that as a whole, I think CADC, in my view, has to be more, have a higher profile and be more accountable, and to have an operational plan that goes with the strategic plan. I'd like to see the strategic plan, as we've done with our strategic plan, we put it into operational plans as well to try to make sure that there's some specific measurement points and accountability points that we can point to see, you know, if in fact they're following through on the strategic plan that is developed. So that's basically the overall gist. And Wendy, perhaps you could, if there's anything that you recall that I've neglected to mention, is there anything that you'd like to add to what I said?
No, I think you covered most of it there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions about my report? Really nice to see the two new town businesses opening, Home Hardware and Nimrod's. I think it gives more choice for residents as well as more convenience. I know that was the hardware store was probably the number one thing people ask for in terms of business in our town. So that's here now, and I think it's great that to those entrepreneurs who put that business in the where it's located. I think it's a great addition to the town. Wendy and I will be going to visit a couple more new town businesses to welcome them as well this week, and so I'll report on that next month. But we're really glad to see the new businesses coming to town and adding more convenience for residents, and as well as employment and all the economic spin-off benefits that go with new business.
Of course, Mayor Greg McDougall is behind that local man from this area, behind putting that whole building together there. So he's doing a great job there. Stratford residents, same as Corey Gray's going to be a Stratford residents. And Kevin Green, these people are all Stratford residents, and it's good that it's all come back to Stratford, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Congratulations to all of those people, because they've done a great job and really added a lot to our town. The other thing I might mention is the interview I did with CDC about the online engagement tool that we're using to determine residents' opinions about priorities, about how we should spend their tax dollars, or what they would like to see in terms of infrastructure and in what relative order. I think it's really important, and I'd really encourage residents to fill that, to really take part in that. That online tool, to really use it to let us know and help us determine what people really would prefer to be looked at first in terms of adding new infrastructure to our town. That's going to be available on our website until January 22nd, and so I really hope that right up until today, I think there were around 510 or something like that had completed it. So it's, we really want to get as many people. We've got 4,400 households in our town, so we'd really like as many of those people as possible to take part in this, to let us know how they feel about what should be done, what should be added to our town, and how much they're willing to pay for it. Okay, if there's no other questions on my report, I'll ask the Chief Administrative Officer, Robert Hughes, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can you hear me?
Yep.
The report's in your package. Just highlight a couple of items. We have an RFP out right now for the master plan for the community campus. We have on the agenda tonight the resolution for the IRAC application. So we're continuing to move a number of balls concurrently there to keep that file moving. It's supposed to close January 22nd, but some of the consultants have asked for more time. It's a fairly comprehensive plan that we're looking for, so we're going to give it another week and close it on the 29th instead. And we also, the other one I was going to highlight is the capital area housing demand study. We received 3 proposals on that, and we rated and reviewed those, and this week we awarded the contract to Stantec. There were three good proposals, and one piece of good news on that is the cost of the proposal was significantly under what we originally budgeted for. So that was good news, and Stantec actually is the firm who did our original housing demand study back in 2011, I think it was, or around then. And they did a good job for us at that time, and so we're looking forward to that. They also included local planning consultant Samantha Murphy, who former provincial manager of affairs, on the team to do consultation with the local development community and stakeholders in the housing game. So that work is going to get underway. We have a meeting next Monday to kick off the project and get that going, and they expect it's going to be about 5 months. So lots of exciting initiatives underway. Happy to answer questions on anything else in the report.
Any questions for Robert?
Robert, can you elaborate on the meeting you had with Maritime Electric regarding community solar farms? Any highlights on that or takeaways?
Sure. That's actually quite exciting potentially as well. Up until this point in time, if we want to put in renewable energy, it has to be behind the meter. It's called net metering. So, and essentially, there's no incentive to put any amount of renewable energy over and above what you would use in your own facility financially. There's no incentive there. And for us, when we have so many remote lift stations and things that use electricity, it would be quite expensive to put all of those renewable energy in all of those facilities. And of course, as you get larger in size, the cost per unit, per kilowatt produced goes down. So for example, for solar, it's about 30% cheaper to put in a solar farm than it is to put solar on individual buildings. So what Maritime Electric's looking at are municipal partners, looking for municipal partners to work with them on solar farms in a number of communities, or near a number of communities that communities could buy into. And essentially it would be like what's called net billing, which means that whatever we produce would be deducted off of our bills regardless of where they're located. So you don't have to put in separate smaller facilities for each location. Even when you look at this building, it's funny, but there's 3 meters in this building. So we couldn't put in enough renewable energy to serve the whole building as one. We'd have to put in 3 separately wired installations, and it just, not economically as advantageous. So it's, they've recently decided to become a sustainable electric utility, and this seems to be, I think there'll be other potential partnerships with them in the future as well, especially at communities like Stratford, who has that mindset already. So I told them that we were interested in talking to them about that when we get to the next phase. Of course, we have a plan to have, or hope to have, a net zero community campus, and that certainly is one potential way that we could do that. So
Thank you, Robert. Okay, we'll now turn to item number 9, Safety Services. So I'll ask the Chair of Safety Services, Councillor Derek Smith, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I start, I just want to build on what you had said earlier. Before I start my report today, I would like to inform the citizens of Stratford of our ongoing survey into the future of Stratford. This survey will help us, as well as the rest of the council, to get your input on how the town will be moving forward in the coming years. There are many points that we want your feedback on. As Chair of Safety Services, there are 2 parts of the survey that relate to this department. They are police services as well as the transit system. I believe that all departments in the town have questions that need answers. If you have already voted, thank you. And your comments will be read and analyzed. If you could tell everyone about the survey, I would appreciate your help. If you haven't voted, please try to do so. In doing this, your voices will be heard before any decisions are made for our growing community. Thank you. Just want to say the demographics of the voting, we have demographics of everybody who voted. I'm well pleased with the age of the people voting, and it seems to be pretty even right across the board. And as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, there was 538 people who have voted. I won't get into any more details because I don't want to sway anything. Right, thank you very much. We'll move on to Safety Services. We did not have a meeting in December due to the timing. It was late in the month, and of course it was Christmas season. We will be having a meeting in this coming Monday for the January. Street light reports. I believe the street lights are still being looked at. There are some projects underway, but nothing to report as of this month. We'll go on to the RCMP report. The statistics sheet is there. The top of the sheet, it says 2020. I think that should read December of 2020, as well as the other years, 2019, 2018. It's a pretty lean month. That's obviously because of the Christmas season, but a standard month for the RCMP. There's one detail they have taken on, and that is checking up on people who were home for the Christmas holidays and had to isolate. And I think the police were patrolling around the town of Stratford and knocking on doors to make sure everybody was keeping safe and sound. So that is it for the statistics sheet. Nothing outstanding. We had NC checks of 76.
It's still here.
And SOTs are down and warnings are down, but that's because of the month.
Oh, yeah. But it's
Any
just
questions on that point?
could be in this connection here, but.
Okay, we'll go to the mayor's report. That briefly outlines everything that happened in the month.
It's pushing it here.
I noticed that we did have one moving violation that was a $1,000 fine. I believe that was in relation to a school bus, so that was acted on.
It's not picking
And
up.
everything else seems to be a normal thing. I noticed the mental health was up this month, and that's probably due to the Christmas season also. Okay.
Question for you, Councillor Smith, on the impaired drivers. There are 10 complaints. Was there anything, I know we don't put in our summary offense ticket, or maybe in the future we look at putting something in there as the fine amount, or no, I mean just a charge. Is there anything, when we get 10 complaints, is there anything concluded to that, or regarding those complaints? Just asking that because of, I know we get part of the initial fine, right?
I don't believe we get a part of the fine because it's a criminal code offense. We do get money for.
From the SOTs?
SOTs,
Okay.
yes, which is a ticketing system. So impaired driving is not part of that.
Okay.
That could be a topic covered off in the police side.
Okay.
That should be looked at. All right. But we do have Corporal Dudley here.
Yes.
If he wants to comment anything on that, Corporal Dudley, on the impaired driving.
Kevin, are we just
It
using this
says we
mic?
have a report
Is that
of
hooked up?
10.
Okay.
Thank you. I know last weekend before, we actually had 2 impaired drivers here at Stratford that were over 80. I'm not sure the exact number of criminal code charges, but on Christmas Eve and through that week, we were nonstop responding to possible impaired drivers. Very disappointing, but we did have success in locating 2 of them that I can speak about.
I also been advised that the Guardian ran a story yesterday about a new dedicated police unit for all of PEI. That they would cover off Stratford also, I take it?
Yeah, that's correct. They were here yesterday. If you had the opportunity, it's 2 members, Constable Parsons, who used to work here in Stratford, Constable Steve Duggan. So they're the provincial priority unit, so it's good to see them here.
Yeah, so they spent the day in Stratford for us. Okay, thank you.
Just comment that I know the numbers are down. I know the numbers are down in the report here, but I will say visibility is certainly up because every morning at 7 o'clock, they're on the highway, the Trans-Canada Highway with the lights now, and they must be given a lot of warnings because every morning they're stopping vehicles. And there was even, I'm not sure if it was Corporal Dudley's vehicle or not, but he made a turn to chase a car and ended up in the ditch. I saw that on Twitter. Was that you?
That was not me. And just to speak to the stats, we got to remember too, in December there was a circuit breaker. So our officers are going to limit contact with drivers. A lot of that is standing quite far back, checking to see that they're sober, wishing them well. But, you know, and it's Christmas, so a couple things at play there.
Now, getting on with the police presence in the Trans-Canada Highway, 7 o'clock, I take it around 8:30, you go over to the schools and patrol that area over there every morning too for us.
The school patrols are the reason you're seeing the members on the Trans-Canada Highway. There's a nice loop that goes through Glenstort, so we'll follow the parents through.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you. Okay. So the mayor's report is there. You'll see the statistics and the occurrences for the month. Nothing really outstanding that brings up alarms for us. So it's a pretty standard month for the RCMP.
Councillor Smith, can I just have a question on the occurrences? I'm just more getting understanding. And so I just see a slide on response times. And so at the bottom it says response times are calculated by comparing the dispatch time to the at-scene time, known as the drive time, which makes sense. So for a variety of reasons, including officer discretion on how to best address the call for service, approximately half of the priority 2 and priority 3, which would be routine and urgent, do not have a dispatch time, at scene time, or both. I just don't understand that. If you could just clarify.
Absolutely. So there's priority 1, which are emergency calls.
Yeah.
We're going.
You're going to be at the scene on those.
We're going. There's no question.
Okay.
It requires a police officer.
Okay.
Priority 2 calls can be something happened maybe earlier in the day, the week, the month. They do need to see a police officer, but it's not an immediate response. And priority 3 is a neighbor dispute or someone from CRA perhaps may have called. So we'll judge the calls on priority 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
A lot of the calls they'll ask for a callback, which would be maybe a priority 2 or a priority 3. So we'll arrange for them to come to the detachment or meet with them after work. So
Okay.
to schedule a time in response to that wouldn't be accurate for anyone.
Okay. Yeah, it still lists a response time. So I guess it better be tough to do if if it's non-urgent and you're going to see that particular individual 3 days after because it's not an urgent matter. So technically the response time that's listed there isn't probably.
With police calls and anybody in the room that has been involved in policing, a lot of the
Most
times,
people have. I'm probably the only one and
Sure.
the mayor that hasn't.
quite often the call that you're dispatched to isn't really what you're dispatched to. It's a brief glimpse into what's going on, and quite often the story may change. I apologize for that.
No worries.
So, yeah, we really don't know. We'll do a risk assessment based on the call,
Yeah.
and when you talk to the complainant, that will directly affect how we respond to it.
Perfect, no, thank you for that.
Yeah, that is covered under the Town of Stratford Monthly Occurrence Report, which is in your package. There's quite a few pages to it. What Councilor Burbidge was referring to is on the very last page of that report. It's response times. That whole sheet of paper basically gives us statistics of the average time spent on each situation that we have, broken down into categories, and it also shows us where the offenses or occurrences have happened within the town, and it's obviously spread around the town. So it's well said, and it's also the patrol time of the traffic stops. It shows that the whole town is being covered off. Now, the main point is Trans-Canada Highway, because that's where the traffic is at. But they just don't stick to the Trans-Canada Highway. They are patrolling the whole town. So, thank you for that. All right, that is it for the RCMP. Just one last thing. Our clerk, Janine, is moving on to a new posting, and we do have a new clerk already being trained and going to fit in quite nicely, I understand.
Yes, that's correct. There will be no service interruption. She's already started her training with Janine. That's on the 20th, Janine leaves us, and on the 21st, our new girl starts.
Thank you.
Councilor Smith, I'd just like to take an opportunity to congratulate Ward 2 resident, Stratford resident, Staff Sergeant Graham Shaw, retired after 34 years. He's a great guy, Graham. He was a huge asset to local policing communities, and his services will be dearly missed. I'm sure Graham will have lots to do. I'm sure his wife Melanie will put him to work here now that he's retired, but in the policing community and the community in general, he'll be missed. So congratulations, Staff Sergeant Graham Shaw, 34 years.
Thank you. Okay, so if we're finished with the police report, we can move on to Humane Society. Humane Society is a standard month. They patrol, they look into incidents, they resolve incidents, and there's nothing too earth-shattering again this month. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Just a comment, I was pleased to see that they had 66 patrols in our community last month, so that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
That's up quite a bit.
That's good. Yeah, that's the COVID thing being given over with. All right. Having done that, we'll move over to transit. Once again, I want to remind everybody out there that transit is on the survey. It's very important to us as a council to get your feedback on transit. It's something that should have been done a long time ago, but we do need your support. So please get on and vote how you feel about transit. Transit numbers are pretty steady. Again, for December, it's down as there is every other year. And it's just the way it's going on. So, questions on transit?
Just for the record, Councilor, Ward 3 still looking for transit.
No.
Probably if you work on that, your numbers might go up a little bit.
Well, I mean, I was happy to read some of the comments that the Ward 3 people are getting online and making comments on it. We have to remember, we can look at the present situation with transit, but with the growth of the town
It's not accepting.
and the price of gas going up, the transit system will be needed in the
It's
future.
two different types of setups.
So we should start looking at it now.
Look at your audio phone.
Okay, any more questions on transit? All right, we'll move over to the Crossroads Fire Department. I met with Crossroads Fire Department for their monthly meeting the other day. They are going to give to our finance department what they are requesting in a raise in rates this year. They have not determined what that is, but they feel that there will be a raise in rates, and we should be prepared for that. That is ongoing. The month of December, the calls are down, which is a good thing. The
could be a COVID thing, people staying home. There was one car fire, or vehicle fire. It was a contractor, house painter, and although his vehicle was destroyed, the fire department got there in time to save all his equipment off the back of his truck. So he did save quite a bit of money. It was a loss of the truck, but his equipment was saved by the fire department, and they did an excellent job. The new board met, and our new appointees were on there on Monday night to give us feedback. And that is basically it for my report. Unless there's questions?
I just noticed one little thing, and in the fire report in July on St. John Ave, there was a bagel fire, and I'm just wondering if that's a misprint?
No, that is not a misprint.
Okay,
We'll talk to Kevin Reynolds, who's
Okay.
shaking his head no.
Okay,
That is
all right.
indeed that.
Toaster.
a toaster fire, okay, bagel fire, okay.
But it's not the fact that it was a smoke alarm. It was the fact that it happened. And things like that can get out of hand really quickly.
Yeah.
So it's, it just goes to show you how something small was stopped before it happened to something big. So, no? All right, that's it for my report. We move on if you have any more questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your report, Councilor Smith. And we'll now move to recreation, culture, and events. I'll ask Chair Steve Blank to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. This new year started after the 2-year term there. We picked all our new committee members. The Recreation Culture Committee didn't have a meeting yet, but the Arts and Culture Committee had a meeting. So, of course, 21st of this month, there could be our first meeting with Recreation and with the Events Committee. The new Arts and Culture Subcommittee met for the first time on Thursday, January 7th. Members included Elizabeth DeBlois, Sean McNeil, Sam McMillan, Gary Schoenfeld, and Della Wood. The committee reviewed 4 proposals of Interact Public Art Piece for Pondside Park, and we're updated on the A&C programming, artists and residents programs and various projects currently in the works. The indigenous musical instruments, we purchased them from Lady Sarah Myers. We're looking at picking up 15 rattles and 15 drums, and we're going to provide to Stratford School. So we had an RFP, went out, 2 RFPs out, and finally we got somebody who can come on board there to look after that problem there. The Artist and Resident Youth Visual Art awarded to local arts, Ryan McAdam Young. The Youth Visual Art provides 2 youth art programs for youth 6 to 9 and 10 to 12, 10 to 12-year-old group and currently full capacity. Only a few spots remain for the younger group. These classes will be held in person on stage in the area of the gym to meet proper distance requirements. All other art programs continue to be offered online. And at our last art and culture meeting, the spots are filling up. It's so nice to see that, even with the virtual and everything else. So it's nice to see that the people that are looking for spots and filling up quite rapidly. Of course, we're down in Stratford Youth Center Council. The Youth Council Youth Center will still be able to complete their fundraising and helping hands projects for the holidays. The family was sponsored through Leinster School for Christmas, and 45 homeless care packages were made and delivered to the My Place / Housing First project, the Canadian Mental Health Association. The Youth Center annual awards and holiday party was scheduled in December and had to be canceled due to COVID restrictions. The event has been rescheduled for January 22nd, and it will be held in 3 different groups at the Safety Services Building. This will allow for proper social distancing and manageable participation numbers. And I encourage all councillors to come and join us that day. I'm going to get the co-chair there, and I know this time last year we had the bowling and a meal at the Murphy Community Center, and it was just a relaxing atmosphere. It was just so nice to talk to the kids one-on-one, and they got some great ideas, and their minds are just spinning. And they're so thankful, and they put a lot of effort in that.
If you don't mind me asking, what time is it?
I haven't got the time here now, Your Worship, but Jeremy?
It's not determined yet.
Pardon?
It hasn't been determined yet.
Hasn't been determined yet. But I encourage everybody to come out. The program schedule will start in January at the Youth Center, including 3 drop-in days, youth council meetings, leadership committees,
Newspaper Club, Art Club, Drama Club, and Dungeons and Dragons Club, and a movie day. There are currently 57 members of the youth center. There are 18 in grade 5 to 6 group, 20 in the grade 7 to 8 group, and 19 in the grade 9 to 12 group. The maximum number of participants that can be accepted is 60, 20 in each group. Of course, we've moved to Town Center Gymnasium. With the new year, everybody with the new year resolutions, and the walk, and everybody walking, and sometimes the weather's cold. We have people to track. Gymnasium is quite packed, and so it's getting positive attitudes there, especially with our small renovations and our bathrooms and our equipment and the paints, and a lot of people commenting that. The Stratford programs, I remember a couple of years ago we had a problem with a small little bump in the road with the pickleball, and now we're up to 130 pickleball players, and we grabbed that problem and straightened that problem out, and so we're up around went from 40 residents to 130 people. We have a waiting list for pickleball. It's very becoming a popular sport. I know during the Christmas holidays, my brother-in-law, who's my age, showed me what his kids got for Christmas. It was a set of pickleball. And he said, we're going to challenge me to pickleball. So you're hitting that age group, get out there, and it's going to be fun. It's a great workout. It's good. It's great movement and so on. So it was great that a couple of years ago that we took that from 40 to, it was great work with Jeremy and his staff and Rachel and Tanya and so on, and took it from going up to 40 to 130 right now. The trail grooming, as you know, we're going to be out front. The trail grooming, this time of year, working with the infrastructure, Councillor Clow and Jeremy Crosby and so on, and there's 4 parks there: Fulton's Creek Conservation Park, the Robert Cotton Park, Mason Road, and Jubilee Drive, Rosebank, and Langley, and Town Hall to Cotton Park. I see there's 4 or 5 notable locations here, and hopefully that we get all the trails in Stratford groomed, because during this time of COVID, everybody's out walking and so on. I'd like to see if we could tap into that, but it's a long, it's strenuous on the workers. It's just, but at the same time, we're just trying to do the best that we can with the equipment that we have. The events, the Christmas Park ramp, which ran from December 1st, 2020 and January 6th, 21. But you see the lights down in the park. The park's many visitors over the month with only very positive feedback on the lights in the park and around town. The town has removed some decorations, but we'll be leaving some lights in few locations that residents use for winter activities. Many of the lights at Cotton Park will remain lit through February's Winterfest. Now, Winterfest is going to be starting in February. It's going for a whole month in February, indoor and outdoor activities. So it's going to be going for 4 weeks instead of a 2-week, and so we're going for 4 weeks. The annual Stratford Viewers Day Levy was cancelled. There's 2 out of 3 for me. That's my second one cancelled. And in lieu of the residents gathering event, a New Year's Day video message from the mayor and council presented via the town's Facebook. Just to mention about the Pondside Park there, we have ice at Pondside with the new facility there with the basketball and the pavement and so on. Jeremy and his crew, and Jeremy Crosby, Pierce, and Jason Hughes, Shane Roberts, West London, and especially Andy Ford. Those guys are out flooding all the time, different times of night. I mean, I drive by one beer rink and I see Andy Ford there. Kudos to those guys. It was like, could be 13, 14 below. We're out there trying to get the ice for our kids. I mean, it's going through slush and everything else. And I want to tip my hat off to those guys. And right now, the pond side is open. We opened a couple days ago, right, Jimmy? And so we have how thick is the ice?
It's probably about 8 inches.
8 inches thick, so it's frozen with the bladder there, so it worked over well. And I was down there yesterday talking to the workers, and I met a couple of people and parents of the kids on the ice. I encourage everybody, I guess we're going to put some signs out for helmets and stuff.
Yeah, we have signs.
Yeah. So that's the end of my report. I just want to comment on the survey that we have out now. I just want to support looking at the community campus. I know with the wellness center and so on. I want to speak about our kids in our town, especially with the girls hockey, ring iron hockey, and so on, and the softball, and so we're maxed out solid. And we just look forward to hope to encourage everybody to fill out the survey and to look at different areas there. Like I know the wellness center, it's a vision, it's close to my heart. I love to see it. I know we secured 170 acres of land, and be an envy of all communities. I mean, just going on that campus and taking a left turn and see a community center, taking a right turn and see a school and so on, and see our kids and our sporting fields, our turf fields and so on. And what it'll do will bring all business. It's just a positive thing, and so we're just out there, hopefully, or we have a survey out there now, and hopefully our residents, Councillor Smith talked about it and supported it, and we take the direction from our residents there, and we want to make this a really positive thing. That there's a lot of work in the making from, I guess, the former mayor, Dave Dunphy, and started, and Jill and so on, the sports campus. I remember our first meeting here, and it was just the wow factor, and it's something that we need on our recreation, our sports, or our minor hockey, or Max. Our kids are going to Cropper, our kids are going to Belfast, our kids are going to Georgetown. It's just an good opportunity here to grow this community, and we're sort of at the fork of the road. We go left or right, that's the way the community is, and we're the fastest growing community in Atlantic Canada, just behind Dieppe, I guess, I believe, in Atlantic Canada. The survey says the Maritime, but I'm going Atlantic Canada. And, but I mean, it's just a positive. I hope it's a win-win for our community. I support it totally 100% as chair of recreation, and I just want to put that out front there.
Thank you. And I think that everyone should encourage everyone to come in contact with, fill the survey out, however they feel about it, whether it's positive or negative about some of the infrastructure proposals. The beauty of the survey is that it allows you to know if you're in favor of something, that how much it will cost you in terms of taxes, and also it allows you to give your views on whether or not you'd like to participate in fundraising for that, whatever the infrastructure item is, which is a big part of other communities getting major infrastructure projects done. So, thanks very much for your report.
Thank you.
I have one question. I understand there was a citizen from Stratford that wrote us an email in regards to Cotton Park.
Yes.
I would like to thank that individual. It was well written and well versed. She was very passionate about Cotton Park, and she made some excellent points.
Oh, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. There's points that we heard those points before, and it was time, probably last year, Jeremy Crosby here ascertained those points, and we're looking forward to the spring of this year to look after that.
Councillor Plant, it would be fair to say that the grooming's taking place every day on the trails. Grooming the trails, we are grooming the trails out there.
Yes, this year, yes.
Yeah, I've had people ask me about that, so I can say they are being groomed.
Yes, oh yeah, we, well, they're improved right now. They're improving over the last couple of years, and we see that, and we're working on it, and with our staff and so on, right? So it's improvement, and we're just moving forward that way, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comment I have is that, and we've discussed this, you and I, is that some of the residents are looking for cameras in and around, say, Fuller's Creek, for safety issues. And what was interesting was one resident said that it wasn't only for safety things, which is good, they could get on the town website and have that on the website to see if the trail is groomed and ready to people on it. And instead of taking a trip over and coming home, they could say, okay, it's open, people are on it, and could go. So for a camera in there, we could put a camera in there, and down the road, and perhaps look at it this budget. Yes, budget season coming on.
Sure, as mentioned, I agree 100%. You put a couple cameras in there, just you know, and hook it up, and you know, because it's very good. I mean, people are walking by themselves too.
Yeah.
It's a safety issue, and plus you just go online, look and see the trails, the room, and so on.
Yeah. And Pondside also, perhaps, because there's a lot going on Pondside now.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. And with Fuller's Marsh, Councillor Clough, with the trail going up behind it to Mount River Road, I mean, the government stepped in there, and that trail, and we're going to have it cross the river in about a bridge, a wooden bridge, so it's going to be nice. It's just building up there with the park going in there, the playground for the kids and so on, and then you've got the Blackbird is getting It's been on the front page of our newsletter this month, and great positive comments.
Any other questions for Councilor Glenn? Thank you for your report, Councilor Glenn. Okay, we'll now move on to finance and technology. I'll ask Chair Gail McDonald, Councilor Gail McDonald to give her report.
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. The report is in your package. We did not meet for the month of December. We have our first meeting with the new committee next week. I'll read you a couple of things that have been going on within the finance department over the last month. So we're still waiting to hear back officially from the province on the Safe Restart Program funding for COVID-related expenditures. The staff are currently working on the budget documents, and we'll have our first group meeting next week. The January utility billing is currently being processed. The due date on the bills is going to be February 18th. Disconnect notices were sent out for overdue accounts. They were issued early in December to 12 customers, but all have made suitable payment arrangements at this time. We're also reviewing tender documents for a unified communication phone system. And we're working on the ISDA paperwork to get the financing of the Pipe to Charlottetown sewer project in place. Staff annual computer purchases have been completed, and we're just now waiting for the computers to arrive. Staff also attended Town Suite virtual conference in December. Staff are working on year-end files for the Stratford Seniors Complex. Office 365 training sessions are scheduled for 3 dates in January for both staff and council. The capital project spreadsheets have been updated, and staff is working on an asset management inventory to prepare for the introduction of the Town Suite asset management module. So that's a kind of report from the month of December up till today, Your Worship. Also in the package is the income statements for the town and the utility. So kind of in a nutshell, revenue is down just about 4%, and expenses are down in the area of 11% at this stage. Some of our town rentals were lower than expected. That's why that line item is down quite a bit. And recreation program being for the year, of course, was down mainly because of COVID. Under community engagement, it's down as well, but we did save $14,000 by not doing the June newsletter this year. And under sustainability, this will catch up soon. Some of the invoices were just late coming in, so that will catch up. Under finance expenses, you'll notice under the capital interest payments are quite a bit lower than we expected, and the reason behind that, it was our bankers' acceptance came in much lower than expected. So that was a good savings for the town. We also have the Stratford utility revenue and expenses. There's a line item that's down quite a bit under the expenses, and that's under repairs and maintenance, and the main reason for that is the delay in the Pipe to Charlottetown project over the year. Revenue is up a little bit, and that's because the government grant that we don't budget in is now accounted for under revenue for Stratford utility. That's my report, Your Worship. Any questions? Glad to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions?
Councilor Grant, without getting into any detail, would it be fair to say that we're running a surplus?
Yes, we're currently running a surplus. Yeah.
3 months to go.
3 months to go, that's right.
Not all the bills are in.
That's right.
That's great.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you for your report, Councilman McDonald.
You're very welcome.
And
Great name.
now we'll move on to planning, development, and heritage. I'll ask Chair Councilor Jill Burridge to give a report.
We did meet in January. We usually like to keep our meetings when there's developments on the go. And there was none that needed a review in January, so we didn't have a meeting. I'll just take this opportunity. Kevin wrote up a kind of a year-end document on a few things that he identified that might be of interest to council and the public. And I can send this document around. Permits, which are in the package. Overall estimated construction value for 2020 was $38.9 million. Taking a past 10-year advantage average, it would average out over the last 10 years of $31.3 million a year. In 2018-2019, we were significantly above that at $72 million and $48 million. But generally speaking, we're pretty happy with what we got this year. Number of permits and inspections. This will just show you how busy Carter's been in regards to inspections. But I'll start, there was 241 permits applied for in 2020. 10-year average would be 161. In 2020, out of those 241 permits, they required 450 inspections, which is pretty significant. Just to compare to 2019, there were 161 permits with 286 inspections. So there's one issue that's come up with all the development. Kevin and staff are going to start to talk to stakeholders on this, but basically what's happening is with so much development, final grading of sites, we're starting to infill a little bit more, so houses are being built, and what's happening is that final grading between houses, especially when you're on a hill, it's getting a little more difficult when you're fitting those last couple of houses in, for instance, would be an example. You can see where if there was something that went wrong on a house being set, say, higher than what it was initially supposed to be set at, then that final grade is there's a correction there that has to happen. So Kevin and staff have kind of identified that as a bit of a problem, and they're going to look to require post-construction grading plans now. We didn't need that before. We didn't require that before, I should say. And now we're going to talk to stakeholders. Kevin's going to engage stakeholders to see what they think about that. So I think that's a good thing. Again, the town planner has started to draft some proposed revisions of the official plan. So he's working through the official plan review still. And another point that's come up is the consultation and improvements to consultation within the planning process. Our town planner, Blaine, has reached out to his colleagues, and basically they're not getting anything. Or not getting anything. There isn't really any consultation, innovative consultation approaches that people can give us right now. We might have to be leaders in that capacity, but so we're not finding too much on that end, so we'll have to see where we go from there. And feel free, Kevin, to jump in whenever you want, if I'm missing anything. Am I missing anything? So budget forecast has been prepared, and we're anticipating a small shortfall of $25,000 in building permit revenue. This year we did issue more permits than ever, but a lot of those permits were small projects, back decks, storage sheds, that kind of stuff. So pools, I should say, were up. So they don't have that same permit revenue. So that's why that is. Heritage Subcommittee did meet and have not met since March of last year. Our new committee members now all have access to Zoom, and our first Heritage meeting will be January 19th. And although they haven't met, Kevin and his staff based on input from the Heritage Committee previous to that, we're busy with the interpretive panel out in T Hill for the first transatlantic flight. That was a big one last year. And then the Stratford Honor Roll project around, and all the work around the cenotaph that was done this year. So there was a lot of things that came to fruition in Heritage, even though we weren't meeting. With regards to the cenotaph, we're still awaiting the boots. There were 10 soldiers that didn't return from the First World War, right, Kevin? It was the First World War?
Didn't return or died as a result of their injuries.
Or died as a result of their injuries. So the idea was they were going to put bronze boots. There's little spots you'll see off to the side where they're going to kind of commemorate those 10 individuals. So they're still being worked on. They are proposed to be installed before March 31st, 2021. So that's kind of what's going on in our world. Kevin, did you have anything to add? This is basically all your stuff anyway. I'm regurgitating, but
No, I don't think. Just want to draw attention to the just the number of permits up significantly, which also puts the number of inspections up significantly. So far we've been able to manage we have 100% inspection rate going for our inspections so far this year. So we're just, with the number of inspections that are going to be proposed ahead of the 241 permits that we've issued, we're looking at some contingency plans to ensure that if our inspector is off on training or is on vacation or is sick, that we have some contingency built in for somebody to help us in those times. And as things get busier, just we need extra resources. So just want to bring that to everyone's attention just so they can see. Although the actual construction numbers are down a bit, the amount of work has actually increased.
So are we near a position now with the projected growth that's not slowing to hire another inspector or more personnel for your department, Kevin? Are you short in there?
I don't think we're necessarily at a point where we'd look to hire somebody additional, but having an additional resource that we could pull in, on a contract basis if required, that is something that we're working on right now.
Would that be, and I know that my own experience, you hauled in other additional resources at one point, and it was, I forget the company, but is that how it would look again? Now you could perhaps.
Yeah, there's different consulting organizations that are kind of gearing up to provide this service as the province formalizes the adoption of the National Building Code. So the residential component will be coming in. Can't remember if it's this year for the province or if it's next year. So there are communities that are not currently providing it that they'll be looking to either hire building inspectors themselves or hire companies to consult with them to help them roll out the building inspection programs within their own communities. So that's an option for us just to be able to kind of fill that gap until we get to a point where we may require another actual staff person.
Yeah, it was Coles.
Yeah, they did it for us when we were in between inspectors. We had no inspector at the time. We used them on a couple of occasions actually to help us, and they were great to provide service.
Well, I can say from my own experience and just chatting with people in the building industry, Carter's doing a great job, and he's very consistent. He's thorough, and it's well known within that industry. So I tip my cap to you guys, you included, Kevin and Carter. Well,
I have a question, and I suppose it's not part of planning, but the apartment building on Dale Drive, the affordable housing units, do I see people living in there now? So
Yes.
it's starting to fill up for us?
Yes, that's correct. We issued a partial occupancy permit originally, and then a full occupancy permit has since been issued. So yes, it's I'm not sure how full it is, but the full permit has, or the full occupancy permit has been issued.
Okay, thank you. And crystal ball time, what does it look like for this year? Do you have any indications of permits might be coming our way?
I haven't found the crystal ball yet, but we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail as part of the budget process, but you know, the demand is certainly as strong as it's ever been. I think the biggest part of the problem for people is finding contractors and being able to afford the things with material costs up and land development costs up, and that's the biggest issue. I think the demand is there. Rents are increasing because there's just not enough units to fill that demand. So all of those indicators would certainly make us feel like it's going to be a strong year again. But COVID certainly played a part in probably keeping our numbers down a little bit this year. But we'll wait and see. I expect it'll be a relatively strong year again.
Okay, thank you.
I was talking to some contractors and some of our buildings that are up here, the one in the water and some in Charlottetown, and a lot of them are empty right now because they can't get appliances anywhere. So we have all kinds of units empty, ready to be rented, but they can't get appliances in here. Now, I was talking to one of the drivers there at Hamley's in Charlottetown, and they're backlogged 2 or 3 months on orders, and the appliances are not just coming in right at this moment. So that's a drawback too right now, I guess, for the contractors and the owner of these apartments. Councillor Beard, just a comment there on the soldiers there, the boots you were talking about, and a nice little story. Is that something perhaps we should put to a plaque and have that there with a little story about the boots, or is that something to consider, or has it been considered? Or?
I'm not sure. I think the design was going to speak to that, but Kevin, maybe you know for sure. Was there going to be a plaque on each set of boots?
There will be a
with
name.
The name?
There will be a name
yeah.
by the individual, but I think maybe what you're referring to, Councillor, might be more like an interpretive panel or something to try and kind of explain it. That is something we can certainly pass along to our heritage subcommittee as a nice way to kind of explain what the design entails. Yeah, so we'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the report? I just had a couple of things I'd like to recognize. A lot of good work that was done as well by the planning department. I know Blaine in particular provided some good analysis and research on with regard to food trucks, short-term rentals, and affordable housing. And I think each of those 3 subjects we're going to have to look at over the next year or so to look at putting the necessary rules and regulations in place to deal with those issues and strategies and that sort of thing. So, but I think the research and the groundwork has been laid. There's been a lot of good research and analysis done in each of those 3 areas. So, sorry, go ahead. Oh, you're done? Oh, thank you very much for your report. It's great to see all the development in our town. It really is encouraging, I think, and I think it's reached the point where we're sort of it's really good, and but it's really making sure that the development is done, as you said, in a consultative way, and it's done in a way that is we can look at the whole process and see if we can make it easier for residents and developers to have discussions early on in the process to make sure there's not as much adversarial aspect to it. Okay, we'll now move to infrastructure. Chair is Deputy Mayor Clough.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had no meeting in December, so we will be having one this month. Just some updates here. The wastewater treatment plant update. The sludge removal project is complete. Real good news. and they're in the process of preparing the system for decommissioning. And once the new pump station is operational, they will begin to de-water the system in preparation of infilling the lagoon in the spring of 2021. So that's really good news that our residents will be driving by, and the lagoon will be full with soil and hopefully grass planted this summer for the time being. The wastewater collection system, the Charlottetown Pollution Control Plant, commissioning of the station has begun with the operation of the 3 new pumps in the pump station. The pumps were tested by pumping clean water through the forest main to Charlottetown Pollution Control Plant. The production from the pumps was better than expected. The contractors were back on site after the Christmas break to complete any final items and prepare for the system startup, which is anticipated to be by the end of January or 1st of February. Inflow infiltration reduction strategy. We're currently monitoring and reviewing the source system to identify any areas requiring repairs. Investing in Canada infrastructure, program updates, sewer lift station upgrades. Coles has submitted a revised design report, including high-level construction costs, estimates for the upgrades that they have identified. Staff is currently reviewing the information and cost estimates to determine the best way to proceed with this project. The water station upgrade, the scope of the project was reduced to meet the budget, and the project was awarded to Hanson Electric for $201,100 plus HST. Hanson Electric anticipates beginning the work as soon as materials are available, and they hope to be completed by the end of May. The provincial active transportation, the Georgetown Road sidewalk project has been completed, with just landscaping to be done in the spring. Coles Associates are working on finalizing the design for the Keppick Road multi-use path to be constructed in the spring. Fullerton's washroom facility, the occupancy permit has been issued by the town. However, there is an issue with the automatic door locking and unlocking system that needs to be resolved before the building is fully operational. And the natural playground in Fullerton's has been delayed until the spring due to the contractor from Nova Scotia and having problems getting over here. So it makes more sense for them to look at this project in the spring. Staff have been busy the last month with snow clearing, de-icing operation of sidewalks and walkways, removing all the decorations throughout the town, and inside and out. Trail grooming, outdoor rink preparation, sewer and water inspections, sewer lift station maintenance, and there was no major issues during the month of December. So that's my report, Your Worship. Entertain any questions. Certainly glad to see that wastewater treatment plant is coming to an end after 20 years of talking about it. So hopefully in the spring that lagoon will be filled. And
I think it's really encouraging that the water has been pumped through, and it's a couple of times, and it's working clean water, so it's working well. I guess that test went well. Yeah, good.
yeah.
So, Councillor Clow, so I'm just wondering with the sewer lagoons being filled in, I'm just wondering with the waterfront design happening, is that gonna time out so when the guys start moving the dirt on the lagoon site that they know there's probably gonna be a gap there, eh? They know where to grade it to work with the park design?
I'd say they work together. Jeremy will comment on that.
I don't know how that's gonna time
Yeah.
out.
What was the question again? I was trying to get the other mic working. Didn't hear it all.
Just with the waterfront consultation going on, and I think the intent is to start implementing that design in the spring, and then when you're filling lagoons in so that all works together, you're not doing work twice.
Yeah, I had a quick look at the report that they submitted so far, and there was nothing about grading of that site, so we'd like to have that information as soon as possible, because we do have the pricing that is just about to come in. We had some preliminary pricing on the infilling of the lagoons, but it'll make a big difference if we're gonna try to match in with the existing grades that are there down towards the trail, or if we're gonna bring the elevations up higher, there'll be a lot more fill that goes in there. So if there's a way that we can try to flush that out of that consultant. Sooner than later, we'd really like to have that information, so.
Yeah, that's good. That would be really nice if you could time that
Makes
out.
sense.
Save some money.
Yeah, makes sense.
We likely won't be doing any infilling until the spring.
Yeah.
We will start the dewatering operations. The sludge is gone, which is a big hurdle to have out of the way. And there still will be a little bit of sludge to deal with once we start to dewater. But you know, that's one project that we're really glad to have done, and it went as well as it did.
So if there is a gap, say you don't know what that, for some reason there is a gap, what do you do in the meantime? Do you let it?
Well, with our funding and you know, other resources with Birchill, we'll have to start that as soon as
Oh,
possible.
so regardless, something will have to
We'll start the
happen.
grading in the spring regardless, and let's hope that it all does
Yeah.
work out, but if not, then we'll probably try to grade it down a little bit closer towards the trail, and you know, blend it in that way.
Yeah.
But if there is information that comes along sooner than later, we will incorporate that into our final decommissioning.
Okay, that's good.
There will also be removal, Jeremy, of a couple of buildings there too, right?
Yeah, they've already dismantled one of the rotating biological contactor domes. It's gone now. The screening building, let's not beat around the bush, it's ugly. It's going to be going also.
Yeah.
But the other two buildings, the new building that you do see with the pumping station is remaining, obviously. But the garage beside it is also going to be remaining on site. The UV building down closer to the Trans-Canada Highway will also be removed from the site. So you'll only have two buildings on there when we're done.
What about our roof for Oaks? What's the plan for that? We're gonna see if there's a market out there for them?
Yeah, Jerry Gillard, our technician, does have a line on another municipality that may be looking to purchase those. We did have some discussions with the original designer of the system. They thought they might be interested, but they're not at this point. But you know, it could be a great fit for another municipality that has a lagoon system. So I know that Jerry has been talking to a few of those, and there are some interested parties. So yes, we're going to sell it.
Question there, we did talk about putting one of those routes in Pondside. Is that still being considered, or?
We're looking at that, but I'm not sure if it is a good fit for Pondside. These do have the ability to, you know, really move a lot of water at one point, and we're a little afraid that it may undermine the bottom a little bit and maybe cause more of a disruption. So we're looking to see how we can, you know, maybe utilize them in there to keep water circulation, but we don't want to cause a further problem in there. And, you know, it would really help to have you know, the dredging done before that does happen, and then it would help to rejuvenate it afterwards. So I'll be speaking with Maddie about that and whether or not we can incorporate something like that in there.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor Clow. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item 14, Committee of the Whole. We have a resolution. I'll ask the Chair of our Community Campus Committee, Councilor Jill Burridge, to read that resolution, to move that resolution.
Sure, thanks. CW 001 2021 Community Campus Boundary Restructuring Proposal. Whereas an agreement has been reached with landowners to purchase 2 properties for the Stratford Community Campus, and whereas a portion of one of the parcels, PID 608141, currently owned by 101523 PEI Inc., as well as an adjoining parcel, PID 814095, are located beyond the town boundary in the unincorporated civic addressing community of Bunbury. And whereas a proposal has been prepared outlining the request to restructure the town's boundary through the annexation of the aforementioned parcels. Be it resolved that the town apply to the Lieutenant Governor in Council to restructure the town boundary through annexation of the portion of parcel number 608141 that is located beyond the town boundary, as well as an adjoining parcel number 814095, and that the Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to submit the attached Town of Stratford Municipal Restructuring Proposal and application dated January 13th, 2020 to the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission for consideration in accordance with subsection 15(4) of the Municipal Government Act. And be it further resolved that the town requests the Lieutenant Governor and Council amend map number 8 of Appendix A of the Planning Act Subdivision and Development Regulations to align the boundary of the Stratford Region Special Planning Area with the restructured town boundary as proposed. So moved.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Do we need to explain anything, Robert, that this is not affecting anyone other than the town? The town owns, there's no implications for any of the adjoining landowners or anything like that. It's all, we're basically just bringing this into the town, and it's not going to have an adverse effect on any other properties.
We certainly don't think so, but of course it'll be up to residents who live in the area to let IRAC know whether they think so or not, but it will result in the development of a campus, so there'll be development next to an area that would have formerly been farmed. And there is one property that is going to be completely surrounded by the town if this boundary proposal is approved. But that property owner has agreed to bring his property into the town. He's in favor of the annexation because he'll then be able to be serviced. So he currently has a duplex there and it's serviced with on-site servicing, and he'd like to be serviced with municipal servicing, which will be extending anyway for the campus. So hopefully, no, we don't believe it'll have a major adverse effect on anybody in the area. But IRAC will have its own consultation once the proposal is submitted and find out what residents in the area think.
I think in the document that that accompanies this resolution, the final paragraph or whatever said that it was very more positive than anything else in terms of what the effects are on the adjoining properties.
Yes, we believe so. And something just popped into my head there and I popped out. That happens a lot lately.
So anyway, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Question, is this over and above 2 pieces of property? Is there cost for those 2 pieces, or is that included in our original package?
It's included, the cost of putting the application to IRAC was included in the supplementary capital budget that we approved.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions before we vote? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item number 15, sustainability. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Darren McDougall, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a resolution. I think I'll likely lead with that. Town of Stratford Resolution SC001-2021- switch PACE program bylaw first reading. Whereas Council adopted a community energy plan which includes targets to reduce community greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas Stratford ran a pilot program, SPEAR, Stratford's program for energy audits and renewables, to make it easier for residents and businesses to reduce energy use through efficiency improvements and increased renewable energy production, based on the property assessed clean energy concept, PACE, whereby funds are advanced to property owners to cover the capital cost of improvements which are paid back from savings in electricity and fuel costs. And whereas Stratford has joined the city of Charlottetown and the town of Wolfville in Nova Scotia and the PACE Atlantic Community Interest Corporation to develop an application to FCM for loan and grant funding to offer a PACE program to the residents and businesses of these communities. And whereas the program in Stratford and Charlottetown will be branded as the SWITCH program for promotional purposes, be it resolved that the attached switch program bylaw number 52, be hereby read and approved a first time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Sustainability Committee as discussed at a meeting held on November the 4th, 2020, and from the Committee of the Whole Council as discussed at a meeting held on December 21st, 2020. So moved.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
There seems to be a lot of changes in this program since our last meeting, and one being the name. Could you give me an explanation why they changed it from Pace to Switch?
Well, we still are referring it to PACE internally, but I think that that's for a marketing tool. The town of Stratford and the city of Charlottetown collectively have, I'm guessing it was a suggestion or something from those involved in marketing, and perhaps CAO Robert Hughes can speak to it, but that's my suggestion.
Yes, that is exactly. PACE doesn't really mean anything to anybody. And in order to promote the program, we engage the services of a local consultant, and both jointly with Charlottetown. And that's what they come up with, something that they could use to brand it under the program and promote it. And we'll recover the cost for that once the FCM application is approved, if it is approved.
So does Switch stand for something? Is it S for something?
Yeah, I think they have a number of ideas around it, but part of it is switching your fuel type to something that's more renewable. So they think that they can use the play on words a little bit and promote the program that way. That's what it comes from.
One of the things that I want to ask is, I read that this is certainly going to be affect our budget in this coming year. And do we know exactly what we're looking at in our budget for this?
It'll have a minimal impact on the budget actually, because the money will come from FCM. So the only time that we'll have to, the only issue for us is it'll take a little bit of staff time to process the applications and to administer the program. But out-of-pocket costs will be covered by FCM. The loan themselves will be covered by FCM. The only real impact on our budget, which isn't really an impact, is that as the money is loaned to people, it's considered to be part of our cap on capital spending that we have under the Act, 10% of our assessed value, but we're very, very far under that cap, so we have a lot of room to work with.
Okay, and I guess my next question is the coordinator. We already have one named, Beck, do we?
For the program? Yes, Pace Atlantic is the service provider. They're going to run the program on our behalf, and they take a 5% admin fee, and that's how the program gets paid for.
Okay.
So that's why it doesn't impact our budget.
Okay, so in-house, there will be a...
Pardon me?
There'll be a coordinator in-house too also.
Maddie, our environmental sustainability coordinator, will be our point person for it. So if there's any issues that come up or anything that needs to be answered or whatever, then Maddie will be available to do that.
So she'll be trained in that area, because is she trained in that area, or?
She's certainly trained in the environment, yes.
Environment.
But we won't be taking questions about, should a contractor do this or do that. All those technical questions will go to PACE.
I guess I'm looking more at the money end of it. You borrow 50,000 or 100,000, and who's going to do the background check or the financial check? Is it?
It's the way the bylaw is written. Is the only check we're going to do is taxes or utility or other town charges. So we can check the town part, and the Pace Atlantic will check with property assessed division of tax department with the province. So there's a form that's been developed, and they'll accept that form as long as the homeowner signs it, which they'll do when they submit the application.
And if there's a lien, they'll be doing that too, if it happens to go to that route.
Yeah, if they're delinquent on their taxes or any charges owed to the town, they won't be eligible to get PACE financing.
So I guess my next question is too, is that if our first loan was out for 15, 20 years, so we're in this program for that length of time, then we're in for 20 years. If we give someone 50,000 and say 20 years to pay back, So we're in this program for the long run, for the long term.
Yep, you're in it for, I mean, you don't have to issue new ones after that, but the ones you issued, you have to collect the loan payment on for the period of the loan, yes.
I guess that's all my questions.
Robert, I have a question as well. So here under 5.1, it does say council will annually, through the municipal budgeting process, establish the amount of funds that are available for the switch program. So indeed, we'll be starting that right away, or not till the year that the funds run out from FCM.
Yeah, we'll set it based on what's available from FCM. So when we get that worked out and how much each community is going to use, then we'll budget what's available to us from FCM. And then when that funding runs out, we'll have to decide, do we go to the market, do we go to the private market, do we go to the banks, or do we continue the program? But in the first couple of years, 2 to 3 years, depending on the take-up, all the revenue for that will come from FCM. So we'll be budgeting for it, but we'll also have the revenue to support it.
And as I understand, just approving this bylaw tonight does not indicate our desire to start the program right away.
No, this bylaw allows the program to take place, but once the FCM approval is granted, then we'll have to sign a contract and you'll have to decide are you in or not.
Right, so we still have time to make our final on this.
Yeah, I would suggest that council can make the choice at any point in time, but I would suggest that you've made the choice back in June when we decided to submit the FCM application. But you do still have the final opportunity if council says we don't like this, or if FCM comes back with something different than what we applied for that you can't live with, then you don't have to go ahead with the program.
Right. So is there any out as far as what Deputy Mayor Claude brought up, as far as a first person comes and borrows money for 15 years, are we obligated to stay with the program for that amount of time?
Not with the program. I mean, it's the same thing as, for example, if we install a water line and somebody decides they want to pay for it over 5 years, their contribution instead, then we'll still take those payments. But everything has already been done up until that point, so it's just getting the money back. So yes, those loans, I mean, you can't say to somebody, they have a loan and you're 3 years into the program, you decide you're not going to keep going, but you can't call those loans and say, okay, pay it back in full, because we're not going to continue the program. So we'll sign a contract agreement with everybody, and they'll have that period of time in which to repay it.
So I'm wondering if there's an out though, like, whether a bank or whatever will have our back to take over the loans if the program becomes too much for us, or there's too many issues, or it's so brand new.
Yeah, well, I guess FCM has their back. We're already getting the money from them to do the loan, so we're not using our money or bank's money or anybody else's money. We're using FCM money to do that.
And yeah, it would be interesting to know what SWITCH stands for sure. And also, I'm just wondering if it's going to cause confusion for the name SWITCH and the PACE program that people are familiar with FCM, and you can query about the PACE program and find quite a bit of information, and quite a lot of it negative actually, from CBC and other media outlets sort of thing. And of course absolutely nothing on the SWITCH program on the internet. So
yeah, PACE is not very well recognized by the public, and neither will SWITCH be until we actually tell them what it is. So our goal is to educate them through the marketing and through all of our various channels on what the program is.
Yeah. Although we just changed the name for whatever reason, but a person really wanted to know more about the program, they should be querying the PACE program.
No, actually what they'll do is go to the website that's being developed for this program, because residents who are looking for it are not going to be looking like you are to say, is this a program the town should do or not? What they're going to be interested in is, what does this program mean to me? What's eligible? How much can I borrow? What period of time can I borrow it for? All those details will be on the website that's developed by our partner PACE Atlantic with funding from FCM. So I don't think residents will be going, I mean, they might tonight and say, oh, I'm interested to know what PACE is and why council is talking about this. But once the program's in place and running, then they'll be interested in what does it mean to me, and they'll get all that information from us through the website for the project.
Thank you.
One more question, Robert. Are we, Charlottetown's involved with this same program?
Yeah, Charlottetown, Wolfville, and ourselves.
So have you been talking to Wolfville, Charlottetown, to see if there's anything we're missing, or we're on the same wavelength?
Yeah, we have regular meetings with all four of us.
Okay.
And we had one last week, I think, and we have another one scheduled for the 29th. We're putting in place all the kind of the background. We're going to have a legal contract probably between ourselves and Pace Atlantic and the other two municipalities. So it depends too on FCM are trying to figure out how do they disperse the money. Do they disperse it directly to the municipalities, or will they disperse it to Pace Atlantic, and then Pace Atlantic will not have to get us to disperse it on their behalf? So there's still details to be worked out based on how FCM wants to see the program run. But FCM's very interested in it. We've gotten really positive feedback on it, and we're confident that they're going to approve it because they have a pot of money that the federal government has given to them to do exactly this kind of thing.
Okay, that's good news.
Robert, I understand that the provincial government does help out with the installation of heat pumps. That will not affect that program. That program is still going to stay in place for the people to take advantage of, and ours is going to be beyond what the provincial government offers.
Yes, as I indicated previously, in other jurisdictions where they do this, what will happen is the residents will still take advantage of all the program that the province has, and that'll be netted off of their cost before they do the financing. But what this has done in those jurisdictions is the amount of people that take advantage of the provincial program significantly increases. So it actually will help to promote their programs as well. They're our partner as well. They actually provided funding, as we did, to put together the FCM application on our behalf, and they've been in part taking part in most of the calls that we've had as well as Efficiency Nova Scotia. So they're both on board and supportive.
Robert, I just have another question. It says here what the program administrator is a town staff person. So does Wolfville and Charlottetown also have a separate program administrator?
No, actually it says a staff person or a third party contracted by the town. So in this case, our intent is to have it as a third party contracted by the town. But we've written it both ways so that in the future, if for some reason we don't have a relationship with Pace Atlantic anymore and it's wildly popular, we don't go back and change the bylaw. But our program administrator will be Pace Atlantic in the beginning, for sure.
And they will look after Charlottetown and Wolfville as well?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Robert, Pace Atlantic, so there was a similar program that is run in Halifax for a long time. Was that run by Pace Atlantic, these same individuals, or was that run by someone else?
Yeah, no, Pace Atlantic didn't exist at that time, but Julian Edelman, who's the president of Pace Atlantic, was the person who developed and ran the Solar City program in Halifax, which is very widely recognized and quite successful. It's the first PACE program in Canada.
Okay.
The other gentleman, who's the vice president of PACE Atlantic, was the former head of the department that's responsible for energy efficiency for Nova Scotia. So they're both very well versed in this area.
Any other questions?
Just one more and they're going to use local contractors, right? They're going to be committed to using local contractors to do these installations, whatever they may be within our community.
Yeah, the condition that we're going to put on it is that they have to use contractors that are approved by Efficiency PEI. Efficiency PEI has already done the legwork to identify who's eligible, who's qualified here in PEI to do this work. So they have to use a contractor from their list.
What's some of our benefits for the residents?
Sorry?
What's some of our benefits for the residents now of applying for this program?
Well, they'll be able to, if they're not able to go or don't have the inclination to go and get a loan to do this all on their own, it'll be a little bit easier for them to do that. And if they get the loan from us, then the theory is behind it that they'll identify the energy savings. You'll note that there's a thing in here, a clause in here, that says it's a 1-to-1 ratio, which means that the energy saving that they have from whatever they decide to do, whether it's insulation or heat pumps or putting in solar panels or a combination of all of them, the cost of doing that will not exceed the savings that they generate. So they'll basically be able to pay the town back from the savings that they have in their electricity or oil bills or whatever fuel they're using. And then after the equipment is paid off, which could be in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, they'll have that savings to put in their pocket from then until the life of the equipment is finished. So it will be an economic benefit for residents. At the end of the day, it'll put more money in their pockets, and it'll also be a benefit to the environment because it'll reduce greenhouse gas emissions, which is part of our goal behind the program.
Any other questions?
I have another question, Robert. Under 5.2 here, it says an owner of a qualifying property may apply to the town to finance an installation to a maximum value of 15% of the qualifying property's tax assessed value. Noticing other communities do set the dollar figure at $10,000 or $15,000. So I'm just wondering, certainly if somebody comes with a $1 million property, 15% of that is
Yes, if you kept reading that clause, Councillor, you would see subject to the dollar value limited established in the switch program policy.
right.
So after we do second reading and adoption, if we do, then we'll also have a policy that sets some of the details. And we decided to do it that way so that you could change that over time. So in that policy, you'll establish the limit, whether it's 20,000 or 30,000 or whatever number you're comfortable with on a per application basis, then that'll be what the limit is. But if you find it's not working, you want to go back and change the bylaw, you have to change the policy.
So we should receive the policy by next month?
Yes, we'll draft a policy during this month that's in between. There's a number of things that are referred to in here. And if I might just say one more thing, Councillor, follow up to Councillor Glenn's question. This program really was designed and intended to help folks who are on the lower end of the income scale, where it's harder for them to go and get a loan. So it's really benefited people who probably, we have some residents who can afford to do this and don't have to worry about borrowing any money from the town or a bank to do it. But for those folks who kind of struggle from paycheck to paycheck, they're often left out of this kind of a thing. And this is really what it's, the major benefit of it, and why many jurisdictions adopt it, is so that the lower income folks in their community can also benefit from those same things, the same savings that other folks can.
Okay, we have a motion and a seconder. We've had discussion. Any other discussion before we call the vote? Any other questions?
I do have sorry. Robert, where it states that 6.5, in the event of default on any payment under the participation agreement, the outstanding balance shall be immediately due and payable. Interest shall be accrued on the amount then due and payable at the same rate applied by the town for unpaid utility fees and charges in default, which I understand is 18%?
Correct, yeah. Yes, it's set in provincial legislation that the same as the tax department sets, so it's 1.5% per month.
Right, but we're obviously offering much lower interest loans.
Yes,
You think that's a bit
the FCM
exorbitant?
loan will be below what the market rate would be for people, which is another attractive thing of the program.
Right.
But if they default on their payment, if they don't make their payments, then they are going to be subject to interest at our normal rates.
And are we obliged to do that, or?
Yes, I believe so. I'd have to check the wording of that section of the Act, but I believe it's set in that section of the Act.
The MGA, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Rich.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Thank you. You have
Thank you, Robert.
you finished your report?
Oh, I'm still up.
You're still on.
Don't we start? Our sustainability committee did meet on January the 6th. We introduced 3 new committee members. So we did a round of introductions and whatnot. After that, pretty much the rest of the time for that particular meeting, CAO Robert Hughes introduced the committee to the mandate and the work plan in the sustainability committee. It was very informative, and although I've been on the committee for 2 years already, I found it to be quite informative, and welcomed Councillor Smith too, who's the new vice chair. That occupied most of our time. It's in your package here, and you can review it yourselves. It'd be good to do that because it was quite informative. And after we did have some brief discussion beyond that. Again, just talking about our economic sustainability report and some others. But in closing, we had a brief discussion about CADC. One of our members, Michael Fleischman, is newly appointed to the board there. And just to introduce CADC, they're up and running. The previous government had decided to shut them down, I guess, essentially. Newly elected government, and not too newly elected now, they're already a year and a half in, but they decided to reintroduce CADC, and took some time, but things are up and running, and the board recently held its first meeting to go through a strategic planning session. Beyond that, that was it for our meeting. Again, it was more of a background of our mandate and whatnot, and more of an information session for the newly appointed members, and it was very informative. And that's my report, Your Worship.
Any questions for Councillor McDougall? Okay, thank you for your report. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
Do we have an update, or does anyone have an update on the tree application? I had a ton of messages and emails on those trees. The applications are out now. I think there was a limit of 50. Do you know how many have been called for already?
By the looks of Wendy Watts, I think she may have an answer for you.
They actually are all filled at this time.
I
There's a
figured.
wait list that's
Okay.
in place right now, and there may be some that come off that list if they don't meet the criteria once staff go out to assess the properties and stuff. But as of right now, they're filled. So.
Yeah, that's a good initiative. That was the first thing that my phone really blew up on since I started council. So there was a lot of takers, a lot of people interested in that.
I know Maddie has an additional application in as well for some additional funding through one of the, I'm not sure which program, but through one of the programs to be able to extend it.
Oh, perfect. Great.
Yeah, that would be great to attract some more funding for that program. It is beneficial for the environment, for the town, for homeowners, and so I think it would be something that if there's any possibility of getting any other funding from any other source, we should really try to go after it. Any other questions for Councilor McDougall?
Yes, I have a question there for Councilor McDougall. Just, I guess, referring to the industrial park, the business park. I know it's Ward 3 area, myself and Councilor Clough. I was just looking at improving the signage, like off the highway. Is there any interest from the sustainability committee to like Kilnock Cross and have all the signs, different local business, like same as the industrial park over here, we don't have any signs. Like what type of business in the park? I know we're looking at expanding the business park, moving our soccer fields over to the campus and so on, and building on that. I know the town of Dieppe, if you look on the site of the town of Dieppe, did a great job promoting their industrial park. And I just think that if we're looking at promoting our industrial park and the business inside there, is there any talk about putting signage on the highway there for our customers, our clients?
I'm not aware of any chatter about doing that. However, it sounds like it would be a great idea, and you're right. I think we should add that to our agenda for our next meeting in February for sure. A great idea.
We would have a signage bylaw that talk to Kevin on
You're
their
Robert.
Robert, there is a signage bylaw that may actually,
Prevent that?
it might make it a little difficult, but
We-
Robert will
We've
speak to
discussed
it.
it before.
Yeah, we have discussed it in the
Yeah.
past, and there are a couple of issues. That's one of them. We're not subject to or not allowed to use the provincial highway information signage system for it. We tried that in the past. And if we did put a sign there, it would have to be on property that we own, but we'd have to then lease sign space to those who want it, similar to in a mall. And we did a survey a few years ago of businesses in the park. And there wasn't, if I recall correctly, and I have to go back and check it, but there wasn't a lot who indicated that they actually would pay for that signage. So we can revisit it, but it's not quite as easy as what we think. There is, though, when you drive in there is a sign on the right-hand side when you drive in. And now that you come directly onto that street from the new highway, maybe we could, revamp that sign and amp it up and do something there. But we'll put it on the agenda, but it has been looked at a few times in the past, and it's not as easy as one would hope it would be.
If I could just add just a couple of things to that. I know it's a battle that I've been fighting since I've been on council to try to get some kind of there's two departments in provincial government that are responsible. One is the Department of Transportation, which looks after directional signs, and the other is Department of Tourism, which looks after anything related to tourism, the blue signs and all that sort of thing. So if there were a tourism-related business within the business park, then obviously that would qualify, and we'd be able to put that in that, and from that perspective. But from the transportation perspective, my contention has always been that there needs to be a directional sign that tells people where the business park is, because it's not obvious when you're on the Trans-Canada Highway heading east where you're supposed to go. So to me, it would make sense to have a directional sign from the Department of Transportation. But that argument has never been accepted, and I've tried with the previous Minister of Transportation, and I think it's been raised with this minister as well, and we haven't gotten any further with it as well. So it is something that I think is required, and I think a lot of people think it's required. I've been asked about it by business owners in the business park, and it's been a long-standing complaint and bone of contention, I guess.
It's nice to get a sign up too on the highway there for Fulton's Creek, right? A lot of people don't even know, have never heard of that, some people, and it'd be nice to have something there to say we do with T Hill and whatever. It'd be nice to have something there that a directional sign or saying this is where it is. Pop in there.
And that would be a tourism
Yeah.
related.
So it shouldn't be a problem.
So it shouldn't be a problem. I would think just a matter of it should be a matter of just making a request.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It's already there.
It's already there.
You drive by it every day.
Okay, they're ahead of the game.
But going back to sign the business part, I mean, Jeremy could, his roots are up in Cornwall, but does Cornwall have a sign off the highway for the business park there?
Not aware.
Not aware of it?
No.
Okay, because the business park on the left, go towards, on the main highway there. Anyways, okay, my question was answered.
I think West Royalty does, but that's owned by Rollins.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is a precedent, you're right. Anyway, okay.
But it'd be nice to something, or business that's, expanding in Stratford, it's something to look at. And like Robert says, the entrance there, maybe building an entrance and so on, but maybe it'd be nice to have something there for them.
Any other questions or comments on the sustainability report? If not, we'll move on to my committee, accountability and engagement. We didn't have a meeting in December, and we will be meeting the end of the month. Or
Next week.
Next week, yeah, we'll be meeting next week, so I'll have a report after that at that point. Okay, we'll move to human resources. And we did have a couple of meetings, but I think we'll be, there's no resolutions.
No, there's no report, and really no report. But we did have some meeting too.
Okay, the next item is inquiries by members of council. But any item that anyone would like to raise, any questions? not, we'll move on to other committees, the Stratford Seniors Complex. So I'll ask Deputy Mayor Clow to present the seniors report.
Thank you, Your Worship. We did have our first virtual meeting Monday. Two new committee members, Carl Doucette and myself. Great committee, went well, everybody was on there. And the senior home is full at the moment, and just small little items that are the daily, day-to-day items being fixed, and we got some projects coming up down the road, but everything is good there. We have to, I must give a shout out to Jerry O'Connell there. I didn't realize the amount of work that man does in that building, and he's a jack of all trades, and just listening to him talk and what he's doing, we're really lucky to have him there. So kudos goes out to him. He's a great guy.
Thank you. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, we'll move on to item number 20, appointments to committees. I don't believe there's anything to report there, Robert. No. Proclamations, no proclamations. Other business, I'd just like to wish everyone a Happy New Year and thank everyone for everything they've done over the past year. It's been a great year. We've accomplished a lot in the past year, and look forward to the next year and getting even more done. So thank you everyone for everyone's efforts and attention to their portfolios, and to staff for all the work that they've done. So I think the town is moving forward really well, and I really appreciate everyone's efforts and their commitment to helping the town move forward. Any other business anyone would like to?
I'd just like to add that the vaccine rollout is now happening in PEI. I wish everybody will get the vaccination. This way you'll help yourself and maybe not pass the cold on to somebody else. So please consider getting vaccination when your turn comes. Thank you.
Now I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.